The focus of Brain Mapping Foundation has been on fast-tracking therapeutics and diagnostics for veterans, soldiers, and civilians with neurological and neuropsychiatric disorders. Today, we are even more aggressive about this approach to introduce new diagnostics and therapeutics using the latest technological advances in other fields, including AI, machine learning, including neurotechnology, including parallel computing and supercomputing.
We see military personnel having injuries, whether it's traumatic brain injury or whether it's post-traumatic stress, that can impair their functionality in society. And so it's our duty and our responsibility as Americans to try and find ways to reduce the impacts of these kinds of injuries. What's happening with the brain mapping, folks that are really trying to understand the intricacies of the brain so that they can develop treatments, they can detect when problems occur, the best possible way get these folks back as to fully functioning members of society and productive members of society.
I have many friends today that are suffering from PTSD. What you don't see is some of them, they're not amputees, they're not missing any limbs, but what they are suffering from is that invisible call that we call PTSD.
The delays that I worry about is the emergence of symptoms tied to these injuries 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now that we might be able to mitigate or even eliminate with the kind of both technology and integration and from the neuroscience to the bioscience to the engineering aspects of what this conference and what this organization brings.
You need to have a mix of different disciplines that can attack your problem.
And so really, you can't do this by yourself. In fact, science nowadays is really not a silo. You need to really have collaborative type of a setup to really solve the problems that you face with medicine.
I think it's very important how the Brain Mapping Society got started. It really started from a collaboration between a NASA engineer and Dr. Kateb, and the two of them together, coming from very different backgrounds and disciplines, is something that I've always found very appealing and very productive.
Brain Mapping Foundation and Society for Brain Mapping and Therapeutics identifying the areas of need for U.S. military and veterans, and we bring the finest and brightest scientists, engineers, and physicians and surgeons together to tackle those areas of gap. The gap of technology and innovation that may not be available to veterans, to soldiers, as well as civilians.
What we're seeing here is a research community that is interested in the same things we are interested in terms of how can we improve our knowledge, diagnosis, prevention, and treatment of TBI and PTSD.
Throughout the years, we have developed a subcommittee for military medicine. That subcommittee interacts directly with Pentagon and Joint Forces, U.S. Army Medical Research and Material Command, DARPA, Congressionally Directed Medical Research, Office of Naval Research. That subcommittee chaired by Dr. Ken Green and Dr. Mike Roy.
I think this organization have really driven a culture change in the United States military about how we look at TBI, how we look at PTSD, and recognizing that to be wounded, you don't necessarily need to have a cut or be bleeding.
I think it's this kind of dedicated effort that will allow our people who've been injured in some way to be able to return to a more fully functional life. And I think SBMT is clearly representing that venue, that platform that allows that to happen.
The other area is brain-computer interface. BCI was funded by DARPA, so this is a technology that helps amputees control their prosthetics with their thought process.
I think that right now, the Society for Brain Mapping and Therapeutics is trying to lead us in the new direction we need to go in.
So as we continue with this organization, I applaud you on everything that you're doing, including the approach that you're using as to go out and to mine the intellectual databases of our nation by the development of young people who have so much to give and who represent the future of our organizations.
And what brain mapping is doing, my hat's off to the team. Many of our veterans and our military team need it, so thank you all for what you're doing. We really appreciate it. God bless you.